In part 2 of this series, we saw how to use JMRI to control points simply by clicking on them on this plan. Now, I've since extended that to every set of points on the plan, and as you can see, it's looking quite complicated. There's also some other things on here that you might be interested in. First of all, if I go down to this point here, you'll notice that if I move that point there, I also need to move that one. So if I click on that, I actually want both of them to move together. Now you can do that by setting it up by going to the edit mode, and that's actually point 12, that's point 13, and if you tick also throw another turnout, then you can select the turnout it changes. You can also select which way that second turnout goes, so it can either be closed or thrown. So we want it closed, done. So those two then always operate together. And also if you operate that one, it works the other way too. You'll also see I've got some thicker lines on here than others, and that's an attempt to show main lines. So main lines are shown as thicker lines and others as thin ones. And again, that's in edit mode, so if we click on this one, go to edit on this piece of track, bring this in, you can see you can select whether it's mainline track or side track. If I do side track, done, that goes thin again. Edit. And turn it back to a mainline track, and done. So that's all starting to look quite complicated now. And there's one thing to notice at the moment: if you click a point with the left mouse button, it changes in either direction. This is in edit mode at the moment, and if you hit Control E, it takes an awful lot of stuff away, and that becomes a more operational layout plan. The only thing to remember is if you hit the left button on the points, it goes straight. If you hit it again, it doesn't do anything, so it's a right mouse button to bring that back. So there's a bit of a difference there between the edit mode and the normal viewing mode. Now I've also added some pretty little signals. Now these are not signals on the layout, these are simply on the drawing. And the reason for doing them is I want to set up so that if, say, I have a train on platform 1, I want that train to get onto the main layout. Now to do that, I'd need to click that track, that point, and that point to get it onto the layout. But since I've set this little signal, and I mean it's only a picture of a signal because I quite fancy that, it could be a button or anything you like. If I click that, you'll notice that the points all go in the direction I want them to go. So the signal's gone up and the points are now clearing me through onto the main layout. Fine. In the same way, if I wanted something from platform 2 to come through, then that point's right, but this one's wrong, so click on that, and that clears the passage there. In the same way, platform 5, if I were to go through platform 5, it needs that point changing, and that, in fact that could go either way. Let's see how it is. So if I hit platform 5, yeah, there we go, it's going through here onto the main layout. Now the way to set these up is really quite straightforward. Again, a left click on either of them changes direction. There's also another type of icon I've used that does exactly the same sort of function. If I wanted to go into goods 1, let's turn that against it. Whoops, that's it. If I wanted to go into goods 1, then I simply click on here, and the points automatically choose that route. Now it only goes as far, it doesn't go as far as this, because of course something might be wanting to come out of the coaling stage and go into goods 1 or goods 2. Goods 2 of course is that one. How to set these up? Well, we have to go back to our old tools, tables and sensors. So if we look at this list here of all the sensors, these are all the sensors I set up around the layout, but there are here some virtual sensors. There's one for platform 5 rather, platform 3, coaling stage, platform 2, and before I learned how to spell the word virtual, it's platform 1 as well, and the 2 goods ones. So all my virtual sensors, they're just the ones on the plan, are shown in here. Now you can actually reduce the complexity of this list by clicking on, instead of having all, just internal ones. And there they are again, one right the way through to platform 2. So the first thing we have to do then is add a new sensor. Well, there we go, click add, and we'll give the hardware address, which is this area here, system name. So we'll call it virtual sensor for the upline. And we'll use username is up. Create that, and there it is set up for us. Let's do another one then for virtual sensor downline, and we'll call it, being old conventionalist, we'll call it down. So there we go, we've got our up and down sensors, at least in the system, but they're not showing yet. So the next thing to do is to close that down, get rid of that for a moment, and in here we now have to go into edit mode. And in edit mode we've got over here sensor icon. Click on that, and then here it will show the list of all the sensors that we've set up. We've just set up and down, so there's down, and up is probably down at the bottom. So let's do up first, and all we have to do is just click on somewhere on the layout, holding the shift key, as with all things that we introduce onto this plan, shift and left mouse button. There it is, that's up. Let's also put down in, there it was, down, and we'll put that one somewhere down here to identify it as the down. Now these are just red blobs, and yes, they will work fine. If you click on them, they'll change colour and they'll do the things that we tell them to do. But you've got lots of other options, which is how I managed to change this to a signal icon. So it could be all sorts of things. So if I right click on there and go to edit sensor icon, there's a facility there for changing icon. Click on that, and you'd have to know where to go in this. In program directory you've got icons, but in here we've got the ones I've used. If you look at the top here, this is the range of items, options that we've got on the buttons at the moment. So all I have to do is drag onto here the icons I want. Well, if it's active, then the board should be up, shouldn't it? So if I just drag that one to there and let go, there it is. If it's inactive, the board's down, so there it is. Update the panel, and there it is. So we can now click on that and it will change from one position to the other. It's not doing anything yet, we've just changed the icon. And the same with this one. So if I right click on there, edit the sensor icon, change the icon, open all this lot up again, icons, British Rail, medium, and do the same. So the board's up when it's active, and the board's down when it's inactive. Update the panel, and again you have to click these things just to make them, they quite often just come on looking like blobs, so you just click on them to get the icon back. So there we've got, now if I click on each one of these it changes state, but again it's doing nothing at the moment. So the next thing to do is to create a route, and it's back to here, I'm afraid. Tools, Tables, Routes. I'll add a new route, and let's call this username up line, and then I have to refer to the particular points that the upline is going to use. Well, the points the upline is going to work with is this one, so it's that point there, turnout 12, and that one is turnout 15. Although 15 actually could go either way, couldn't it? It could go up this way or that way. So all I need to worry about is really 12 and this one, which is 11. So going back to this page here, all we're worried about is point 11 and just scrolling up, point 12. Point 11 needs to be set as closed. Point 12 needs to be set as thrown. And that's it. There's all these other options and things you could do later, but all we have to do is put in here sensor 1 is up, so it's going to sense whatever position that signal is on the plan, and when it is, it's going to set those 2 points to those positions. So if we create that, we've now got something on there that says upline. We set up the next one and we'll call it, you guessed it, downline. Now the downline needs points 11, 12, 13 and 14 set. So if we go down, scroll down to 11, 12, 13 and 14, 11 needs to be set thrown, 12 also needs to be set thrown, 13 set thrown and 14 set thrown. So actually the presets on here are spot on, so that's fine. Again, sensor down, on active, create. So now we've got a downline and an upline set. If you want to change those settings, you simply go into edit and it brings this page up again. You can have another bash, but we think that's okay. So coming now to our layout plan, let's make them all wrong, so we'll do that. Straightforward. We'll see if the downline is going to work. That's straight on, that's wrong, okay. Click on this sensor and sure enough, there we've got those all coming through on 5. So that's got the signals working. So we can move these about again with the right mouse button. We can move them to where we want to be, and that one to there. Let's move it up there out of the way a bit. That's it. This thing does tend to flick about all over the place. There we go. As I say, these signals aren't right signals, they're just convenient buttons. The next thing to do is to label them. So if we go up to here, label text, type in there up, and then again shift and left click. Another one says down, shift and left click. Now those are pretty small, so we can make them bigger by right click on the text itself and go up to font size. Now at the moment it's on size 11, which is too small, so the others I've done to 20, so let's go up to 20 on this. That's better. And again, right click on there, font size 20. And again, as you probably saw, font, you've got all sorts of other options in font. You can change it to any fancy font you like, change the size, change the style, or indeed the colour. So these are all options open to you. But I'm quite happy with these, so let's take this word down, move it to the down line, and the word up, unsurprisingly, to the up line. So that's just an extension of what we were doing in part 2, but we're now grouping points together so we can set up short routes. Now you could, if you wanted, set up an entire route with a button to the side that says route 1, route 2, route 3 or whatever. I don't particularly want to do that, but if you do, then that's entirely up to you, and of course the design and shape and size of your layout. So this is our sketch as we've got it so far. The sensors that look like signals are working and everything's fine. There's just one thing we need to do something about. At the moment we've got the down line with its board off, and that's fine, the points are all set right to go through there. If I click on the up line to clear that, points go right as well, but the down line is still showing as clear, which it patently isn't. So what we need to do is have some method where if one of these sensors is showing active, the other one shows inactive. Well, to do that we need to start dabbling with a little bit of logics. So going back yet again to our listings with tools, tables, but this time down to logics. Now you'll see on here I've already got some logics set up. I've got start of day, signal cancelling in the goods area, signal cancelling platforms 1 to 5. Now, if I'm quite honest, probably using the word signal there wasn't right. I mean, they're sensors, they're not signals. So we'll put that right on the next time round. But now we're going to add a similar system that cancels one sensor when the other one is active. So we'll add some logics and we'll call this sensor cancelling in up and down lines. How's that? So now it's asking me to give a conditional. What that means is it's possible to add a whole range of different things, but we're going to add two. We're going to add one that when down is active, up is inactive, and when up is active, down is inactive. So we'll start with our first new conditional. I'll just drag that in so you can see it. And so the first one we're going to put on is make up inactive when down is active. So from here then, the thing that's driving it is that down sensor. So let's add a variable, and we know that variable is a sensor and it's called down. So when down is active, we update that on there, then down here we put the consequence of that. So we add the action down here. It's a sensor. Its name is up. And these are, by the way, case sensitive. So it needs to be, in my case, a capital U and a small p, because that's how it shows on the sensor table. So that sensor called up is going to be set inactive. So set sensor to inactive and update that. So there it is. We then, you can add more actions to this by clicking on there, but we don't want to. We'll update that and that's done. Now that's making up inactive when down is active. So now we have to do the opposite. So we have a new conditional which we'll call make down inactive when up is active. So again, the thing that's controlling it is that up sensor. So variable type sensor, and it's the up sensor this time on the up line, and when that's active we're going to come down the page and add an action here. Sensor down is going to be inactive, so we set that to inactive. Update that. So we update all of that. We've got two conditionals now. We've got to make up inactive when down's active and make down inactive when up is active. That's all done. And sure enough, on our list here we've got of logics statements, we've now got sensor cancelling in up and down lines. So let's have a look at our plan. So at the moment it's set for the up line to be active. It's just powered up with that setting, so up is active. Where this is doesn't really matter, but you can now drive it. So up is active, down is not. If I click down, that should close. Fantastic. So down is now active, and we've got the route through for the down signal, down sensor, should I say. And if I click on up, does it work the other way around? Yes, it does. So now there's no way those little sensors are going to give us false information. They're going to swap over. So I hope you found all this useful. I certainly couldn't have found out this information on my own. I have needed to rely on, most notably, John Walden of Merg and John Neeshaw of the Gauge Guild. So thanks to those two, and good luck with your automation.